Hey, welcome back to the big show, and excited about our next guest as we continue to talk about golf lifestyles, destinations, and golf celebrities slash personalities. And Steve Sands fits in that last category, celebrity personality. Really good at what he does with NBC Sports. Has been doing it a long time. And I think, Steve, we caught you coming out of the gymnasium. Is that right? Were you working out today?
Yes. Just trying to get a little sweat in, Doug, so I can look as good as you, bud.
No. Hey, thanks for joining us. I know you'll be going up to Ponte Vedra, getting ready for another Players. As NBC kind of took over things after the California swing, you guys were in Mexico, right. Came to Florida, down in my neck of the woods, PGA National, the Cognizant. You go to Arnie's tournament, and now the Players. And Steve, I love the Players, and I know the signature events are a big deal, but now you have a mix of all the stars, all the big names, and the guys who can maybe pull off something like Craig Perks did back in the day. I mean, I kind of like this kind of event. I know Rory and Wyndham, some of the guys, want this kind of Premier League of golf, but I think that's what makes the Players so special.
Oh, I totally agree. I think that the Players is one of those venues, that's rare in golf, Doug, throughout the course of a PGA Tour season. It's the star. The Players are always the stars, but occasionally, Augusta National next month, the Players Championship this week, I think sometimes the golf course takes over as the star of the show, and then the players kind of fill in the storylines. And I think one of the great things about this championship compared to any other championship, whether it's a signature event, Doug, or whether it's just a regular PGA Tour event, anybody can win here. Anybody can win here. This golf course doesn't favor one person or another. Doesn't favor a driver. Doesn't favor a guy who's a second shot guy. A guy who can chip and pitch. There's my dog Cookie there in the background. Sorry, we apologize. Cookie's a huge Doug Bell fan, so she's excited.
Thank you, Cookie.
That's one of the great things about the golf course and about the Players, Doug. I find it fascinating that really, truly anybody can win out there.
You have worked it for many years and have interviewed all the guys, whether it was Tiger or whoever. Sergio, remember that great finish, and Ricky Fowler, et cetera.
Oh, yeah.
Is there one that really stands out, Steve? I love it when Tiger calls you Sandsy, and I know you guys go way back, but is there one interview or one win at the Players you're thinking, wow, that was really special?
Well, I think the 2013 win by Tiger was certainly special. I thought the Hal Sutton, win was incredible, especially that moment when he was, up on 18, when he was, be the right club today, that kind of thing.
Right.
I thought the Fowler attacking 17 those three times after Kevin Kisner somehow didn't make that putt on 18. He put a beautiful stroke in on that putt. It just didn't fall for him. That was a fascinating one. I think that the Players, Doug, over the years has developed. Everybody talks about the fifth major, all that garbage. It's just a great event. And I think the finish is awesome. I think that Scottsdale, 15, 16, and 17 are three of the great holes as far as a 1-3 hole stretch on the PGA Tour. But to me, for my money, the best finish in all of golf is this week. 16, 17, and 18 is a fabulous finish. Just think about it. A reachable par 5, water on the right, all kinds of things can happen there from 3 to 7 on your scorecard. 17 speaks for itself. I don't think it's the greatest hole on the planet, but I do think it's the most famous hole on the planet. And I just think it's awesome. It's just a great, great hole. And I think 18 is a test. That water's left. Ask Cam Smith. Ask Adam Scott. Ask the guys who've tried to finish this tournament off with 18 being difficult, especially back in March where the wind is supposed to be coming at you. So to me, there have been some great finishes before. There have been some memorable ones before. But those two would probably stand out the most. The Tiger in 13 win where it hadn't been in a long, long time. And Fowler was just outrageous in that playoff attacking 17.
Yeah, I was there for both of those. And Steve, the other thing I like, there's so many people at this event. It's just a massive humanity. And as I walk around, I remember in years past, I ran into Artis Gilmore, the A Train, who was the famous guy at Jacksonville when they lost to UCLA. There's this 7'2" hulking guy watching golf. And I hope somebody else recognized him. Tim Tebow one year, Trevor Lawrence last year. It's kind of a celebrity sighting This is a big time deal.
Oh, for sure. I think that one of the things that's why I wouldn't go back to what we said earlier, Doug, about that the fifth major talk. It needs to just go away. It doesn't need to be the fifth major. There are 4 majors in golf. There are 4 majors in tennis. That's the way it should be. That's the way it should be for the rest of our lifetime. It doesn't mean or diminish anything negatively as far as the players. I just think that the players kind of brings out those stars, you say, Doug, brings out the best in the players. It's a cool golf course to see on TV. It's a cool golf course to be there. And now that it's back in March as opposed to May, the weather usually is a little bit better. It's a little bit cooler. And I think the fans come out there in droves. And I think the one thing that's fascinating about the players to me that's been most fascinating, Doug, and I don't know if you share this opinion, but in the last 20 years, what is it? Is it the Masters? Is it elegant? Is it that way? Or do you want it to be rock and roll and be like WM Phoenix Open on Friday afternoon at 17 and everybody's boozing and having fun and doing their whole thing? I think it should be a little bit of a mix of the two. It should have the elegance and the reverence of a Masters, but it should also be Florida, spring break, North Florida, great weather in March, and have some fun and get the young people out there and energize, and perhaps they'll pick up a golf club because they think it's cool. Perhaps they'll find it to be more fun than they actually realize. And I think that that's part of the mix that the PGA Tour is going through right now. And I think in this particular week, in the last 15 or 20 years, Doug, they kind of went one way, and now they've come back the other way. And I think the middle road is what you want. You want some elegance and reverence because the championship means so much, but you also want to make sure that you realize it's sports and you're having fun, that you can't just be, old and stodgy all the time.
Well said. And that 17th hole with the big scoreboard behind the green and behind the tee, and then that walk up the left side where you have that natural Pete Dye amphitheater with the crowd. I mean, that's pretty special. I tell people all the time. I mean, the hole itself is intriguing for obvious reasons, but what you see if you're there inside that little arena, I mean, it's not Phoenix. I mean, nothing is that, but it's unique and really, really cool. I think that 17th, that walk, and when you hit a good shot and those players walk by that crowd, Steve, that's pretty good stuff.
I think both walks, Doug, are amazing. When you walk off 16 green to 17 tee, you have to walk, and not only are you standing steps from the water, you're looking at the hole to your right, and all those fans are to your left as well. You know what's coming. You know what is happening. You know the pressure. You know the moment. And then you have to hit the golf shot, execute that game plan. And then, as you say, you walk on the left side of 17. Hopefully your golf ball is dry and It's on the green. And I think that the fan experience there, the player experience there, that's coupled with the competition, the golf course, the moment, the event being so large, and the craziness of the fans in that spot. Every year, I'm driving up there this afternoon. Every year, I will park in the compound, get in the golf cart, go out to 17, and I'll just stand there, Doug. I like talking to the guys, just like you. It's right. We get our storylines, we get our nuggets, we get our notes, we get our, cement our relationships, all that kind of stuff. But man, to stand on 17 is such a cool thing. And I think that everybody who's listening and watching the show right now, Doug, anybody who is a golf fan, anybody who's a sports fan, if you have the opportunity to go to the Players, you really will enjoy it. And when you stand on 17, when you're around that amphitheater and you see 16 over there, and you see 17 right in front of you, and you see all the amphitheater of all the fans, it's really, really cool. There's no question. It's one of the great spots in all of golf.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. Hey, let me ask you this, too, because, a large majority of our audience, obviously, Crimson Tide fans. Roll Tide, too, by the way, Steve.
Roll Tide, Roll Tide. Sorry, I'm wearing a Maryland hat today. So
no,
you beat us
okay.
you beat us last year in the second round, Doug. That's all right.
I remember, yeah.
Unfair, by the way, to play that game in the state of Alabama, but I digress. Go ahead.
In Birmingham, yeah. Hey,
Not
anyway.
cool.
Tommy Roy is kind of the Nick Saban of network sports TV. I say that with the utmost respect because obviously what Coach Saban accomplished and what Tommy has accomplished, it's amazing. And And the fact that you've had a chance to work, I mean, you're one of the star players for the head coach. I mean, Steve, it's got to be an experience that never gets old, and it's got to kind of get you revved up when he holds one of those pre-tournament production meetings, right? Because this guy has a lot of energy still.
He's got a lot of energy. He's the best who's ever done it.
Yep.
No offense to anybody else who's ever been in that profession, but I've never seen anybody in my 34 years of working with him and also just knowing the business. There's nobody who's ever done it better than Tommy Roy. And this event is his pseudo hometown. He's from Tucson. He's a U of A guy. He's a Tucson guy. He lived in the New York area for a long time working for NBC Sports, but this is his hometown now. This is where he and Ann raised their kids in the latter stages of elementary school, junior high school, and high school for them, and they still live there. This event means the world to Tommy. To work for a guy like Tommy, and I'm not trying to suck up to him. I already have the job. To work for a guy, and with a guy like Tommy Roy is the honor of a lifetime in our business, Doug. You know, like when you're around greatness, it raises your game. It raises the expectations. The crew knows who's in charge. The crew knows who's the boss. The boss loves the sport, loves sports TV, and for the most part, he loves everybody who works with us on the crew. It's an honor. It really, truly is. And this is a big one for him because, like I said, they live in the area, and it's one of our biggest events, along with the U.S. Open and the Open Championship and one of the cups, whichever year it is this year. It's a President's Cup. The Players is right there. And he has a lot of passion. He has a lot of passion leading up to the event. He has a lot of passion while working the event. It's amazing. His energy is infectious. It's also pretty amazing.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about chemistry, cohesiveness, and these are words that Coach Saban threw out there, the process. And I say that with all due respect. When you compare Coach Saban to Tommy, I mean, You're talking about two of the all-time greats in their respective businesses. And it's interesting, they all have similar traits, right, to be successful. I mean, it's pretty interesting in my mind.
Well, I will say one thing, Doug.
Go ahead.
Thing on the comparison with Saban, and Nick is the best who's ever done it. And it's going to be strange to see a sideline at Alabama and not see him on there. And DeBoer has some big shoes to fill there in Tuscaloosa. But one thing that I think that is comparable between the two is it's a symphony going on around them, and they are the ones who are the maestro. There's a lot going on in a golf telecast. And it's the hardest sport by far to produce on television because of the nature of the sport. They don't take timeouts. We have to go to break, and they still play. So you got to catch up. Think about all the things that Saban had to deal with in his time at Alabama or LSU or Michigan State or with the Dolphins or wherever he was as an assistant coach all those years. There's a lot happening there, and you're the face of it, and you're the voice of it. And they both handled it, and currently with Tommy, used to be with Nick, they handle it with their own accord, their own energy, their own way of being in charge, their own way of loving and giving tough love. And I think that it's an apt comparison when you have the greatest college football coach who's right over your shoulder there with that Alabama, and also, Tommy Roy is the best who's ever done it in his business. I think it's a comparable thing, and I'm glad you made that analogy.
Boy, Cookie, I think wants you to wrap this up, Steve.
Cookie's fired up. Now, Cookie was named for the greatest owner in the history of professional sports, the owner of used to be the Washington Commanders, Washington Redskins, Jack Kent Cooke. That's where Cookie came from. The only part of the house that I got to do anything was to name the dog, and the dog is named after former Skins owner Jack Kent Cooke. She's fired up, Doug.
Good stuff. I like it.
Sorry.
Steve, I appreciate it. Let me ask you one more question before I let you go. And I know I was going to hold you for a few minutes, but anytime. I love it when you go to the Masters because, listen, you're a versatile guy, and you really are an expert when it comes to interviewing people and getting them to, give thought-provoking answers. And I think that's an art. I'll never forget when you had Arnie, Jack, and Gary at the Masters in the little room where you have the table and the whole bit. I mean, Steve, and there's still a picture floating around on the internet about, that's got to be one of your all-time best moments, right? In the interview arena?
It's one of the thrills of a lifetime, Doug. As you know, is to be a young sports fan unable to play professional sports because you just weren't big enough, fast enough, strong enough, talented enough, great enough to be involved in sports. To make a living at it is ridiculous. First of all, but to be around the people we're around, Doug, is amazing. I remember interviewing Roger Federer and Tiger Woods together at Doral when they were both number one. I'm like, wow, this is crazy. Been around all these different people. Our whole life is ridiculous. It's a joke, Doug. I mean, honestly, it's a joke. That particular day, I remember thinking, man, this is something else. You've got Jack with 6, you've got Gary with 3, you've got Arnie with his 4. They're wearing green jackets. They're the big 3, and it's just the 4 of us sitting up there. And I remember the conversation like it was yesterday, and I remember 2 things about afterwards in particular, Doug. The picture that you talked about that's floating around. So I don't know what you're like when you're around these kinds of people and they say, hey, we'd love a picture. And I'm not trying to be overly humble, but I always just say, you guys go ahead. And they're like, no, you got to come in. You got to be part of it, that kind of thing. I'm like, no, you don't want me in the picture with those 3 guys. So anyway, they take a picture on their own. Arnie, Jack, and Gary. And Arnie looks at me and goes, Steve, come on in here. Come on. Take a picture with us. I'm like, there's no way I'm getting in that picture.
Right.
And Arnie's like, get over here and take the picture. 2 things about that I will never forget, Doug. One, when you're standing and you have your arm around somebody and you have a sport coat on and it's buttoned, if you look at the one, there's 2 pictures out there. One picture, it's buttoned, and it looks all disheveled and crazy. Here I am with these 3 legends, and it's a horrible look with that thing, which makes me laugh. But then Arnie, of all people, who was the oldest of the 3 of them at the time, Arnie says, hey, unbutton your jacket, man, relax. And I was like, oh, I didn't even realize it was buttoned. And I'm like, oh. And I'm like, okay. So the second picture is actually one that can be put on a wall if you want. I'm not a wall guy. I put pictures in a drawer and you would never find them. My kids will find them when I'm dead. But that interview in particular, Doug, when you can hear Jack, Gary, and Arnie talk, not just about Augusta, but about themselves, about their relationship, about what it was like back in the day, traveling together, growing up your kids together, grandkids, what all the knowledge on and off the golf course that those 3 provide. It was a thrill of a lifetime. It was an honor, and it was amazing television for the Golf Channel, Doug. If you think about what we do, an NBC is one audience, Golf Channel is another audience. You don't just find the Golf Channel. You are a golf freak if you're watching the Golf Channel. And to have those 3 up there, by the way, Matt Hegarty producing, commercial free. All right. He just said, open it up, man. Just go. Do not stop. And these 3 guys would have stayed for hours. It was amazing to be around them. They're 3 individuals who were amazing anyway, but to have them collectively together at Augusta while they're wearing their green jackets, and you just happen to be the bozo who got lucky enough to be sitting next to them, man, you just want to get out of the way and try to get them to just have a great conversation. It was a lot of fun.
Well, it was an incredible interview. And listen, the fact you had those 3 legends is one thing, but the fact that you put it all together, Steve, again, compliments to you. Hey, are you going to be in Paris? Will we see you in Paris at the Olympics?
I will be. I'll be in the booth for men's and women's golf. It'll be a lot of fun. I'm glad the Olympics has golf. I remember in 2016, Doug, at Rio, it hadn't been since 1904. I remember me, you, everybody around the game was like, is this going to work? Is this going to be any good? What's it going to be like? And then Justin Rose and Henrik Stenson are coming down the stretch. Thousands of people there on the grounds on Sunday in Rio where they don't even care about golf. And I was like, man, this is really, really cool. And then Tokyo happened. And unfortunately, during COVID, there were no fans. So the Olympic experience was completely altered for the athletes themselves. So after gaining the momentum from Rio, they went to Tokyo and they're like, it was great, but not the true Olympic experience. I think this summer in Paris, at the golf course where they hosted the Ryder Cup in 2018, where they have the National Open there every year, I think it's going to be awesome, Doug. What do you think?
Oh, I'm going to love it. I love that setting in Paris.
Yeah, it's awesome.
I mean, Rio was great. And, of course, they built the golf course, and I'm not sure if the golf course still exists or not anymore. But I think the people in Paris will appreciate it even more.
Agreed. Agreed.
And I think more players are getting excited. I remember when Ricky
agree.
Fowler got his Olympic tattoo on his arm.
Yeah, right
you can
there.
still see. And I know Matt Kuchar thought going in the Olympics was really one of the highlights of his career. So I'm looking forward to it. And Steve, we appreciate it, my friend. Good luck at the Players this week. Don't fall in the water at 17 or 18. Please don't do that.
I might fall in the water, but I definitely won't dive in the water, Doug.
Yeah, like Jerry Pate back in the day.
Yeah, exactly.
Steve,
Great to see
safe
you.
travels. I appreciate it, my friend.
Anytime, Doug. You're the best.